Okay, so if everybody got the screen already.
Yep, we can see it.
And you can see the actual movement by new technology polarization of the storms and things like that, how it get concentrated, the eye. It came out a storm and hit the island. So this Fiona is really an interesting cyclone. It got us, and it tells us ahead of time that was coming in, and it's hit us hard as predicted. And I'm going to talk about that because actually that will be the next slide, but actually I'm showing the path that the track that it actually traveled through, and it touched the island. And the island is more or less impacting about 1/3 of it due to the winds and hurricane winds and storm winds, but we will talk about what it created, a lot of damage that nobody expected in its water. So I'm not hiding anything. All my comments or my presentation are based on facts. I don't want to talk about political issues or personal opinion, because we have to treat people with responsibility and with facts. So the good thing and good news that is really good for everybody and sad to know about it is that the spaghetti models of cyclones and things like that are so good that when they tell you it's going to get near your territory, you better prepare and you have time to prepare. So this you can check from the September 14. The also windy was perfectly following the track. In prediction, the Europeans and the Americans and the ensemble of them, it was really interesting to see all these models, how well it works. So we have to be aware about that. And also we have to be aware that we are having some climate change or something's happening. I mean, normally we used to get a hurricane every 50 years and now it's every 5. So definitely that is a big change. So let's continue. Hurricane Fiona actually impacted on Sunday, September 18, 2022, and hit in Puerto Rico. It touched land at 15:20 hours local time, Category 1, with winds in the order of 85 miles and gusts over 100 miles, and that it was measured afterwards. 186 millibars, and what is really bad is the low speed of travel, 9 miles per hour. So these are things that you have to consider. By having this kind of event that in the tropics and is bringing a lot of rain, that it happens into Guadalupe and other islands, they measured 20 inches of water. So the forecast of the National Hurricane Center was to tell that be aware about the rains and torrential and actually catastrophic floodings. And this is a term that normally they don't use because it creates a lot of troubles that normally you don't see. So this 20 inch of water, we will talk about it again and again and again because it's what's going on. Today, this morning, this is actually the activity in the Caribbean and the Atlantic. And right now, if you look into it, there are 6 storms flying right now on the Atlantic Sea. And it's unbelievable. And I didn't have time to put the let's say a 8 o'clock graph, but you can see Fiona and something that it may go near the Gulf of Mexico. So you have to be aware about this baby as well. When Fiona hit Puerto Rico, it was measured in Ponce, 103 miles, in Guayama, 81 miles, and Maunabo, 73 miles, and Yabucoa, 71 miles, and San Juan, 55 miles. This is about what I got. So I got like a kind of a storm. And the good things, as it goes out away from the center, the winds that you measure goes into a higher altitude. So not necessarily the surface wind. So my house, as an amateur radio with antennas, it have been fairly safe, and I don't get the heat. I didn't got hit by the wind, but definitely I got hit by water. And this is important to know because this is what damaged the electrical system, right? It breaks the ceramic and things like that. So in 1/3 and more than 1/3 of the island, actually 2/3 of the island, we got flooded like that on the valleys. And normally these are not valleys that they are considered to be that you can get flooded. But the worst part is that we got 100% blackout. And we got 100% blackout that it lasted about 18 hours, and they were able to bring back some of the power system in the north. Most of our power generation is generated on the south, and that's where Fiona actually hit the complex system that we're having. This is an actual picture of the power transmission going to the, and we will talk about it, going to different regions. We have several loops of 230 kilovolts and another loop of 115 kilovolts, which are important because, as you know, to power up a power generators of this of 400 megawatt, you have to bring power from another one to start it up. They don't start up by themselves, self-starting. You have to be generated. And there are stories that in Hawaii, after a storm, they needed to bring a submarine to give power to start up a generator so it can continue powering up the other one. So this is something that is critical. And I don't want to go into details what I have been learning in the last couple of days. And this is actually what the power company is trying to fix. As you can see here, where's my pointer? I lost it. Anyway, yeah, supposed to get it right. Anyway, this is San Juan. I live here, and we have generators in Guanica, here in Salinas, in Guayama. We have one there. We have one here and another one in this region. And these are actually the flight of helicopters inspecting the power lines, because they have to be certified and they have to be checked that they're not on the floor. You don't want to put 115 kilovolts of power into a line that is on the floor. You can kill someone. They have to be, the ceramic have to be looked. And they were able to do this analysis on Tuesday. Friday was raining. I mean, Monday, the Sunday was the storm, the hurricane. Monday was still raining. And the first time the helicopter flight was on Tuesday. And remember, today is Thursday. We are cooking things as they are happening. And you can see the one helicopter here. You can see the other helicopter here in Sidra and the other one here near Peñuelas. And they're actually traveling through the power lines, stopping, checking, and taking pictures and sending those pictures for the engineers to check and double check that they can bring out those power lines. After 24 hours of Fiona, and actually Dan asked me to explain this because it's in Spanish. I apologize. I didn't want to translate it. This is government data. We were able to generate from the power generators in the north about 1,000 megawatts, a little bit more than that, 1,100. And we were able to service only 265 megawatts. So those are the only lines that they were available, certified that it can be power up. And we have a reserve of 483. So these numbers, they don't add, because between what is getting into the network, into the houses or industry, what is generated, and there's a difference, is that the lines are having leakage. That's a lot of leakage, and also it's measured. So this is 24 hours afterwards, and this has been coming up slowly, and this is the way I want to prove it. This is on the same day they were able to increase a little bit and bring power to more houses. Remember, you don't have power in your house, that means that you also don't have water. So because of the power pumps and things like that, power generating water, they need power. This is infrastructure for hospitals, main building for government, main buildings working on the disaster, and water. So this is a small amount. Normally, just to give you an idea, we will run the power within 2,500 megawatt and 3,200 megawatt. Okay, so this is a lot of power that we drain in such a small island. So this is actually nothing. This is a baseline. 48 hours after Hurricane Fiona, we were able to pump or use 440 megawatt. But you see, this number doesn't increase. And this is a reserve. And we go here 96 hours after Hurricane Fiona, so we are using or delivering to residential and commerce and industry 793 megawatt from the same 1,100 megawatt of service. So we are not bringing new power generators online because the lines are not ready. And I have good news. So you can see now the reserve is much smaller. joined the Zoom, I just made a comment to everybody that we were running about the maximum of 1,000 megawatt with about 1,000 megawatt and 1 megawatt per reserve. So this is so thin that we are running the power in Puerto Rico as we speak. So yes, we have a problem of power, and I will explain why. So let's move forward. So this is today's newspaper that certified that 73% of the clients of a power system is offline. 73% of the people, 73% of the industry, of the business is offline, even today. And it's still like that right now as we speak. This is Josue Colon. This is engineer in charge of the power generation system. And he explained today clearly, you see the numbers, they come out correctly, that only these yellow lines, all these are power lines, all of them, in the different networks. Only the yellow lines are able to transfer energy. The rest, you have to be certified, or they are damaged, or they have to be repaired. So you see that it's a complex network, but at the same time, it's supposed to have a loop and a loop and a loop, so you can bring power from one place to the other one. So right now, the problem is that they don't have enough power to the other power generator plants down here to power up. This is as we speak. This afternoon, they have a brand new news that they got this line up on the 15th, so they can put electric AES, and they are coming up, but they need about 18 to 24 hours to get it up to speed. They have to go through the whole process to service those systems, to put it in phase and put it in line. So this is news as they are coming up. By the way, this picture is taken from the TV itself. Now, what it makes the catastrophe even worse? The floodings. And this is something that it was predicted by the National Hurricane Center and NOAA, but one thing is a prediction, and actually what happened. This is Rio Cerrillo, this is Calle, almost 32 inches, not 20, 32 inches of water within 48 hours. That was 27 inches, Ponce 24, Cuamo, and also on the west side, I tell you, 2/3 of the island was flooded. And that brings a lot of problems. I don't have to convince you because we're going to see those things, and I'm going to give just a few examples because there are thousands and thousands of pictures. You know, now they have cell phones and we have communication. This is something that I want to clarify from the beginning. It haven't been a lack of communication. It actually have been fairly good, the whole communication in the island. We will rather start in the next half hour. This is actually Dan told me this story and I double check it out. This is a brand new house in a complex area of housing that the flood came in and it eroded and it wiped away a brand new house, never been living on it, and destroyed. In a land that nobody was talking about flooding, nothing was never expected to be flooded. And you can see the damage ridiculously actually destroyed the house. Thank God. And I'm going to say this with respect. There are possible about 8 fatalities. And this is something to the government to certify. And most of them are related. One of them was related to a power generator because of the CO2. And the 7 of the rest of the people, they got trapped in the current trying to cross a river. And I would show you why you don't want to cross a river when things are flooded. So you can see different areas where houses are broken and fall sidewise just because this was eroded due to the water. And you can see how it is away. And even with the spirit of this flooding, people going back to their houses and cleaning it. And you can see the level of flooding in this house. Not only the terrain, it went about over 5 feet high inside the house. So this lady, they have a big job, and I take my hat off for them. And I wish I can go over there and help them. You can see the rivers and cutting the road, and this bridge is broken. And all kind of problem. Again, these are just a few examples. This bridge during Hurricane Maria. I have a picture that it was broken by the same river. It sustained the water, but you can see the flooding going through it. And you can see common neighborhoods fully flooded, all the streets, and getting the water into the houses. You can see how high the water go into the people right there, standing there, going into the level of water to the hips, and eroding the roads. And what about, you can see the 45-mile sign is about halfway. And this is a track excavator, and we will go into this area now and discuss what's happening here. Now, if you see a flooding, please don't try to cross a bridge. This works well. Look what happened to the bridge.
Excuse me, Oscar, but we're not seeing your screen share.
I'm sorry if I did not, because I marked it. Oh, yeah, because it's not the screen. Hold on. I'm going to fix it. I was showing the PowerPoint. Now you see it, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's start. You can see the water getting into the bridge. Look at this crazy part. What happened? You can get take you away with it. So you have to be careful. It's not there within seconds. This is another angle. You can see these guard bars, how they whip and they're taken away. Extremely dangerous situation. So when you see a bridge and it's flooded, don't try to cross it. Get your life there. Okay, so you still see my screen. Any question until now? Okay, so let's talk about agriculture. We have a big impact of agriculture. I cannot go to every farm, and they are making assessment as we speak because they were flooded, and these are bananas and papaya farms. You can see the devastation. All of them, they're bended, destroyed. This is millions of dollars of fruit or vegetables. Those bananas are useless. And this is a papaya farm similarly. And let's talk about ham radio. This is the part of ham radio. I'm sure that you want to listen about it. And we have good news. From the ham radio story, the NBIS antennas and radios, we are able to communicate and listen. And the good news is by listening for all these days, 24 hours, 24/7, there haven't been a specific need of emergency communications in this disaster. This is completely different from Maria. And thank God, because that's the only thing that we needed. But the system have been up, and I will tell you what it means to be up in service and why, specifically why, what was the lessons learned from Hurricane Maria. So we have been listening our emergency frequency declared by the section manager, 7.083, and just check out radios and no emergency call VHF in the repeaters and so on being stable. Why? Because the winds, they were not that bad. And the reason I talk about that, because if I show you the actual wind from coming out of one of the stars.
Yeah, well, there it is. It's raining like the son of a gun here.
That's Mangay basket.
That's what it looks like now. Woo! See how it holds up. 50-mile-an-hour winds right now. We'll see what happens.
The good news is that he survived. That's the good news. Now, compare to the 155 miles, 160 miles from Hurricane Maria with gusts of 195 miles. Our antennas didn't fall down because probably we don't need so many towers. And there's a reason for that. This is a tower antenna for service all kind of microwave during Hurricane Maria in 2017. But today, after learning these experiences, and the 85th Infantry was putting back on towers and putting back in service those beaches, and took about 6 months to fix everything. The FCC invested in Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands $950 million in fiber optics, on the ground fiber optics. And that is a big improvement. And right now, personally, I'm using fiber optics all the way to my house. And it allowed me to have this conversation with you without any glitch, because the network is so very well designed and rugged that it can sustain the hurricane. I have no power in all my neighborhood. I have a power generator running my house as we speak. Once I power up my house, the modem turns on, and I have communications. So I have TV, I can go to Zoom, I can send emails, I can receive emails, telephone calls. So this is something that definitely something that technology helps to serve this purpose. But again, depends how bad it is, and every emergency is different, and you never know how you're going to get impact. So I won't go further than that. And everybody knows here that we have been without internet by many reasons, including. So in the government situation report, and this again, these are facts, and talking about antennas and telecommunication, 75% of the cell sites are still on, even during the hurricane impact. And about 70 at that time was 71% that they fixed a few of those, and 75% of the people, citizens, they were able to communicate. All of them at different time. There have been some dropouts, but you can communicate. So this is a big improvement, and thank God they can talk about it. Now, going back into the situation, as we mentioned, we are in the order of 800 megawatt of power given to the different households and industry. Talking about service of water, this is 60% of the population have water, and I will talk exactly what it means in population later on. The shelters, there were 92 shelters with a total amount, and these are numbers of today, okay? This morning, 459 people on shelters on this major impact. They were in the thousands before, but they went back home. They were back to their houses for cleaning, and they were back to other family members, so on, and things like that. But this is the numbers by the government. And if you want to check daily, you can go here into this website, prep.pr.gov, and you can check those numbers as we speak right now. So these are data. It's not, I don't make the things. Now, we are still in the relief operation. We need food, water, we need medicine, we need fuel for the hospitals, fuel for the cell sites, and we are starting the recovery. The President of the United States, they spoke to us today as one of the most important news. FEMA and with the federal government, they will cover 100% of all the needs of Puerto Rico for food, fixing the electricity, and special needs for shelter. These people who are running out of house, that did run out of houses. And we're talking about thousands of houses. We're not talking about 2, 10, or 15 houses. And what are the challenges, and which is important, is the dialysis to citizens in remote and isolated areas. Personally, I visited yesterday a dialysis center. They're fully operational. They learned from Hurricane Maria. Oxygen is a lack of oxygen for hospitals and people with respiratory conditions. Why? Because the not having electricity in Guayama, the oxygen plant is not able to produce oxygen for. So this is a factor that is a challenge right now, and this is this afternoon challenge. People with assisted breathing needs, this is important. Diesel for hospitals, and the hospital today, they were hitting hard that the distribution of diesel by the trucks, because everybody needs fuel. And let me explain what it means everybody needs fuel. We were having all this power generation by the power company, and now there's a lot of small generators and big generators. So you have a swing from energy from bunker 5 and carbon and how you call it, coal, to gasoline and diesel. And definitely the distribution is a balanced system, because originally we were burning fuel for cars and the emergency generators was only when it was needed, but now they need it every day 24/7. So this is a shortage. In the case of the cell sites, and I wish Martin was here, in the cell site, the diesel gets stolen during the night. So they empty the gasoline, the diesel from the cell sites, from the generators, and next day they have to fix the tank and fill it up again, and that's almost daily. So I will let Martin talk about that if he wants to make it. Right now, the need for power is for 2 million people, including myself. And this is a big number. For water, for tap water, is 1 million people who have no tap water. There are several reasons for that. No electricity, no pumps. The water on the rivers and the fluid supply, they are all muddy. And this is something that we're going to talk again. So this is one of the reasons that we have a lack of water. Again, limited gasoline in the west side of the island. There's the long lines, like for 2-3 hours, try to get a few gallons of gasoline. They are there. Food, and remember, I'm trying to tell you, we need to address food for the citizens. So today at 5 o'clock news, the supermarket announced that they may have to close because they have no diesel to run the generator. So the fridge and freezers are not going to be available tonight. So all that food is going to get spoiled, or they need to take it to somewhere else. So these are real facts that they are coming as we speak. So that's the reason I put here, still in the relief operation, and it's starting the recovery, because there are effects and events that are still running and escalating as we speak. Even today, in several places, even people have been trapped in mud twice. Yesterday, that happened to one person. The ground mud and big rocks falling out of the hills. They clean a road, and later on the road gets blocked again in another place because the mudslides are still there and making regions isolated. So these are challenges that, and I'm sure that there's to be a long line, but these are the ones that I saw on the news and specifically put it in this page just to tell you what is the situation. So this is what I have for you guys. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer what I can. And by the way, I believe I have another Puerto Rican person here, Milton, WP4 Victor Whiskey is with us as well.
Oscar, back when Maria hit, it was about 2 weeks, I guess, before the fuel trucks actually started running. I guess that's not quite the same this time. Are the fuel trucks running yet?
Yes, the fuel trucks have been running all the time. They needed, there are some limitations on the isolated place by mudslides and bridges broken, but in the 2/3 of the island, they're moving, but they don't have enough trucks. The drivers can drive like a number of hours, but they cannot drive 24 hours, 7 days a week. So this is a different situation. They're doing the best, but we're gonna bring extra trucks like can happen like in Florida, get it on the highway and bring from Georgia and from Kentucky and from South Carolina more personnel. This is an island and the trucks are not here, the drivers are not here. So the limitation is actually how many stations or tanks they can service per day. But by the way, that was a good question.
Oscar, you want to lower your desktop?
Sure.
Okay, now we can see everybody. I see that Ian, BA3QT, go ahead and take it.
Hi, thanks, Don. Well, thank you, Oscar, for an outstanding presentation. I just wanted to make a comment to situate your appreciation. I was in the Canadian Navy and flew over by helicopter over a great deal of the eastern half of Puerto Rico. Most of your listeners will not appreciate just how mountainous that island is. And many of the roads are very narrow and twisty, following ravines and canyons, and the agricultural area is reasonably narrow along the coastal areas. So the effect of the water coming down out of the mountains is just huge. Excellent presentation, Oscar, especially near real time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, looks like I forgot to lower Ian's. Dan, go ahead and take it, Dan.
Well, Oscar, first, I rejoiced when I heard that you were going to be with us this evening. I invested no small amount of worry. And it's evident that a lot was learned from Maria. So there you have it. And you pointed out astutely how the aftermath sometimes becomes more life-threatening than the incident itself because of the deprecation on the infrastructure. My question is, do those helicopters have any electromagnetic measuring equipment, or are they doing those inspections of the lines, the towers, the transformers, all with a second set of eyes?
I'm sure that they have cameras. I would ask that question and answer you properly. I have some people that have some knowledge about it, but I didn't have time to ask them. They were flying.
Okay, PG&E scares me almost weekly when they're inspecting the lines around here after something trips one of their hypersensitive breakers because of their trillions of dollars of wildland urban interface fire damage caused by their lines. So that's something I'm wondering about. Okay, thank you. And again, it's really good to see you.
And by the way, I'm here because I'm free. I told Dan that I haven't been able to be here because I'm giving class on Tuesday and Thursdays, and I have to prepare. So we are actually at the university in present. And I wake up at 4:30 every day in the morning, getting out of traffic and getting things done. So this week I'm free. That's the good news.
And so is his students.
They are. We are scheduled to start on Monday, by the way.
All right, Barry, what do you see there in chat?
Marty has a question. He wants to know if any naval vessels have been sent to Puerto Rico.
Mayor, what? Sorry.
Naval vessels, the Navy, like Navy
no,
hospitals or carriers to generate water and stuff.
None that I haven't heard. Normally, you heard by the news. The answer is no. The hospitals are running except for the diesel problem, and again, the president of the U.S. is bringing a lot of resources to solve that problem for 30 days, and that is a big deal. I'm sure that they are mobilizing people. Probably, Barry, this can be part of it, but I have no knowledge just except what I hear on the news, the local news, and they update every 2-3 hours.
Okay.
And that's where I get the information. Back to you.
That's everything in chat.
Okay. Well, Oscar, as always, you do a good presentation. Are there anybody out there that has any comments? Okay, WP4, BW's got his hand up.
Right. Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's doing okay. In fact, last time I spoke to Oscar on his repeater was like close to 15 years ago since I moved out of the island. And it is great to see that some of the maestros of the Capecucos, which is our kind of like our nicknames in Puerto Rico for ham radio. And it is great that there's still some people taking time and leadership in order to guide and put out the right information about this type of events and how we can help out as a community. Thank you. I salute you.
Thank you, Milton. Nice to see you again, and thank you for your words, and I salute you also. Probably the best thing that we learn again is that we have to prepare, and I'm going to take action of it. I took a rest, and I'm going to try to develop an emergency communication team, and this is something that I will need support from many agencies and people, but I'm sure we will, and prepare for the worst and expect the best. Now, the only thing that everybody around the world is a little bit more worried is that this climate change is bringing pushing the envelope farther away, or actually going out of the scale. There have been flooding in Alaska. I was talking with David, it's unbelievable. So earthquakes, magnitude 8, unbelievable, even in Mexico as we speak. So we better be prepared, and because a catastrophe can hit us, and these changes is hitting us hard. Right now inside my house, it's about 94 degrees. And it starts to cool down outside due to the fact to the night, because it's so humid that it make the greenhouse effect, so it keep the house warmer a long time. And it's a dry time after the hurricane. After a storm, you get rain, you get cold air and rain and humidity, and then one day you get fresh air, and after that it's going to be hot, hot, hot. So without no AC, so you can imagine we have to survive. I am running my house with a 2-kilowatt inverter generators. There are plenty of companies who makes them. The tank of gasoline of 1 gallon lasts about 10 to 12 hours. And my house is fully powered, the fridge, fans, TV, internet, computers. And again, why? Because I put a LED bulbs of 4 watts and they give me good illumination, and it's nothing for the generator. But mainly the fridge is running, the water pump is running, the fans are running, and this is the way we're surviving, having a kind of a normal life. It's fully artificial because it's power generator. I have a cistern that provides me water for the safety of the family. But so that's the way you learn how to be resilient from these conditions. I prepare the family, we prepare this house for hurricanes, but we never expected to have it prepared for earthquake. So this is something new that we have in the last couple of years. So now we have to, when we build again, we have to think about earthquake at the same time we have to think about hurricanes. So this house is safe for hurricanes, but I'm not sure how good it is for a big earthquake like magnitude 7 or in the Richmond scale 7 or 8. I don't think many buildings can sustain that. So back to you, Dan.
Okay, and Diana, I'd like to see your smiling face. Speak up.
Well, putting on my public health nurse hat, when I see that kind of devastation from flooding, that much flooding, health issues come up that, could probably major health things that are rolling out right now because it's been, what, 4 days?
Yes.
So what's going on about that? And it's good that communications aren't a problem. That's really great. So
I still monitor the communications because if it's needed, we can do something, but it has been stable. And even during the event of the hurricane, normally we stay safe during the event of the hurricane and we go out, but we better be prepared. About health issues, we are coming out with the aftermath. And remember I mentioned about 8 fatalities. That's what I heard on the news. and that depends on the government. Now the problem is what happened to the people when they need dialysis, they cancer treatment, breathing treatment, all kind of health issues. Like if the hospitals are not running fully, they bring new health issues. Also, now we have to consider leptospirosis and pneumonias and attack of fungus, because the amount of fungus due to the humidity and how much water, now the fungus is going to take over the walls and the radios. You have to clean all the time, and you have to clean with chlorine solutions to take out those fungus, because that is going to help against the health of the citizens. Not for everybody, but we have to take care of it. And then it comes to the bacteria as well. So until the system get balanced, it would take a little while. So that would be a month to 3 months until the system get a balanced system.
Now, what about getting supplies in? Because you talk about the supply of gasoline, but do you have supplies there to handle those kind of public health issues?
They are, because it's only 1/3 of the island impacted, and this is what normally we see. 2/3 can supply and help the 1/3. And when we have let's say the main port is in San Juan, that wasn't hit. They open it a day after. The supplies of the trailers and supplies coming in the chain supply is still running. On the supermarkets are not empty and running. The problem again is the diesel for the generators, and you can understand that just because of the diesel distribution. But I went to the supermarket today and I got everything that I wanted, and I put it on my fridge without any problem, because I have a stable house. There are people who doesn't have generators and things like that. That is a big problem. All the food is already spoiled. You have to cook it all at once. And again, if you are resilient and you have a gas stove, you don't care about electricity like we do. So that helps.
Great. And people have enough fresh water, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I think about cholera and typhoid, and then you mentioned all the other things. So
we have a lot of spring waters on the mountains, on the isolated places, and they put PVC pipes, and you get good water, actually mineral water. And now that the mudslides are like stopped, the water comes out cleaner. So that helps. That helps But I don't want to get into details like in Maria, that the senior citizen housing, they run out of water.
Yeah.
And the people who die out of the dehydration because they didn't have water and diesel, and temperatures are near to 100 degrees after the hurricane, that take to the edge people that actually increase the fatalities. And we have to be aware about those needs. And this is something that what we learned after Maria. All the companies pick up people for medical service. They have paper and new database and local database, or things that they can produce whoever they need to pick daily. And I check on that, because that was a big effort after Maria, because it got everybody by surprise, and everybody were having, let's say, the servers outside and even outside the island. And when they tried to connect it, they didn't know who's supposed to be here today for the appointment, because they lost everything, including medical records.
Wow.
So they learn.
Thank you, Oscar. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Diana. Mike, KM4WUO. Come on board.
Yeah. Yeah, real quick, Oscar. Shortly after, I guess, Maria hit, there was UPS, FedEx, the post office. They were all trying their best to get stuff in and out. Is that still the case? And are there things that we can send that would be helpful?
Yes, and yes and no. That definitely FedEx and UPS and the postal office is working. What the governor requested, trailers of food or water or things that they were not needed, like for the first response, for relief operation. He said that we have enough food, and the common movement, commercial movement, will supply it, and the government has the resources to supply it. What they don't want is a a traffic jam of trailers coming in with things that are not needed, because that also happened during Maria. So he requested the nonprofit organization to send big trucks of goods, that then also to distribute it afterward without being properly organized. He requested, and they're going to hold it on stateside before getting it into a ship down here. By the way, Mike, nice to see you again, and thank you for your help during Maria, and I'm happy to see you again.
Yeah, I don't envy you with the 90 degrees on the inside. I just I don't think I could sleep in that kind of heat.
Okay. Okay, Victor, you want to come on board? Hello, Victor.
Sir, good evening and thank you very much. Oscar, thank you for a great presentation. We are, I think, rightfully proud of our Navy and its response. But having participated in a Puget Sound resilience project last winter, one of the things that I learned is that we can expect ships from Southern California in about 8 days if things go well, and that includes political approval, direction, declarations, all the rest. What also came out of that was that we really need to shift from 3 days of supplies, personal supplies, to 30-day supplies to be prepared. And I think you touched on that a few minutes ago. And I certainly hope your presentation helps drive that message, because 3 days certainly is not enough. So again, thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. And Jim Price.
All right, thank you, Oscar, and buen presentación. I think that this illustrates the same thing that happened after Katrina, how important a stable, reliable grid is. And we came very close in California last week to having a problem in that exact area. I remember during Katrina, they were not able to supply fuel because the refineries had no electricity. And yet the power companies couldn't start their plants because they didn't have any fuel for their black start generators. So it becomes a chicken and egg thing. If you can't pump fuel, if you have no electricity, you can't do anything. So it's just a good illustration of how important a reliable grid is. We are working with Cal ISO, the independent system operator here, in establishing HF communications between them and other ISOs, and also our power utilities in the West, and also using WinLink. So shares ALE, automatic link establishment, and WinLink. So those are the two things that we're working with them, getting them up to speed on that. So we need everything. We need everything. And anyway, thanks a lot, Oscar.
What you mentioned is very clear. The president and the, I don't know, the secretary of FEMA or director of FEMA was here yesterday. And she specifically expressed that they're going to speed up the reconstruction of the grid in Puerto Rico. From Hurricane Maria, they patch it up. My house is patched up into the poles, and it's not fixed. And they are going to accelerate. And unfortunately, let's put it this way: they didn't invest in the time properly in the last 5 years. But now they're going to do it in 2-3 years. It's going to be reconstructed all over, because once it's reconstructed and probably have the proper network, and remember, this is like California or every other state. You can have poles and electrical system almost 100 years old, and 70 years old, and 60 years old, and 50 and 40, because you grew with it. I mean, the whole nation grew with it, and whatever works, you never fix it. So now it's time, they're going to fix it into the new modern things, and more safety and understanding what is survive, and more resilient for the winds and so on. So this is going to happen in the next few years.
Well, the power line that caused the campfire in Paradise, I believe that the hangars were manufactured in 1912.
So that power line has been up there. It's been working. It's been fine. But behind the scenes, the hangers are corroding, and eventually they're going to need to be they're going to fail.
Yeah.
So that's something that we just really need to get on. All the utilities. It's not only Pacific Gas and Electric, but other utilities have to look at some of that infrastructure and make it more robust.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay, it's my openers here. How are we doing in the chat there, Barry?
We're doing pretty good. No questions. Lots of comments for Oscar.
Okay. And I'm looking over here in the I'm muting some people there. Anybody got any more questions to ask here? Raise your
I
hand.
think Tom wants to make a comment.
Okay, Tom. Hello, Tom.
Thank you. I serve on my city's emergency preparedness committee, and Oscar and the people in Puerto Rico have an advantage that many of us don't have. The people in Puerto Rico believe after Maria that everything could go sideways.
Yes.
And so you can convince them and work with them to help them prepare. But people who haven't experienced that sort of thing and have only seen it on the news happen to others are much harder to reach with the messages about preparedness. And I even had a person on my committee that was convinced that FEMA had a duty to show up the morning after the event with a hot meal at his door, you know, and I just gave him so much hell about it. He didn't want to change his position, so he left the committee. But people have some terribly unrealistic expectations of what's possible in terms of relief efforts and things like that. And the transition to 30 days of supplies is hard for the members of the community whose finances are much more limited than most of us. You know, they'd have to build up to that 30 days by buying 1 can of extra food a week, and it would take them a long, long time. And in the meantime, any disruption in their finances and that reserve food comes right out of the locker to feed the children. So, you know, not everybody is able to set up reserves, but it is hard to reach people who haven't had the experience of being through a bad situation that knocks out. Now, we've had them, but they're now, you know, a couple of decades past. And so everybody's going, oh, that was then. So if anybody's got any great ideas, my call sign at the league will reach me if you got any great ideas to break through that.
Let me tell you something that is working today, and it did work during Maria. Citizens helping each other. That's number 1. Number 2, nonprofit organization, but they have to be coordinated. They need to be coordinated with the government and the supplies, and they have to go into the meeting, and the government have to tell them, or somebody have to have the leadership and tell them, you're going to go to this region, this region, this region, the other one go to the other ones. So don't duplicate the region, because you bombard a region and saturate it, but what about the other ones? So the nonprofit organization can help a lot. That could be churches, that could be the Red Cross, that could be Salvation Army, and plenty, South Bastet. I don't know why I start mentioning names. There are plenty of those. So, but they have to be coordinated. That helps a lot. And they bring also resources and human resources and people with experience and mature people with knowledge how to handle it. But it have to be coordinated. This is something that we learned after Maria. And right now, this is being a deal as we speak. And they're taking care of those, using those resources, sending the goods to the everywhere across the island.
That's great to hear. We're a rather wealthy county, and we know that. So the county government has done a lot of work with the Emergency Operations Center, where every time they hold an exercise, Salvation Army and the Red Cross and all of those players are in the room. at the EOC, playing along with the government people. So they get more acclimated, if you will, to their role and how it fits, and get an idea what the problems are of supporting their efforts, so they know what isn't going to work. And that's an advantage our county has. But still, you know, the one sticking point in our experience on the committee is how to get the citizens to listen if they haven't had a recent problem, smack them in the head and wake them up. So, you know, just a little bit of a struggle around the edges. Thanks.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Mike, you have something else to say?
Oh, well, I was just going to ask Oscar. He may recall we were in a meeting with the FEMA folks, and they were trying to get the word out about where relief supplies would be. And I guess the communications person from the media basically told them, yeah, we don't have any radio and TV stations back online to be able to tell people where to get relief supplies. Is that problem fixed there, or is it just not that many were knocked out this?
The problem is fixed, and I mentioned it. Communications are much better. Actually, several EOCs were moved from copper lines now to cell phones because it's more resilient due to the fiber optics. Remember, cell itself, and you cut the communication to the cell, then the cell is standing by itself and nothing else. You don't go anywhere. Not even you can make a phone call because it doesn't go to the computer servers to tell you that they are valid phones. This is a big improvement. The broadband across the island, that is a big improvement. So that helps to keep the communication as the event that is happening today. I don't know what will happen if we have an earthquake, but hurricanes, fiber optics works well, especially the underground, and they have different loops. That is working well.
That's good, because that was a problem. You know, even though the cell towers may have survived the hurricane, the backhaul lines didn't. And so, yeah, fixing that is.
That helps. Thank you, Mike.
How are we doing in chat there, Barry?
We're good. Lots of very good comments. Everybody got to prepare for anything.
Anything and everything. Prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Yes, you do.
Hey, Puerto Rico is being lucky. They're missing the storm that's developing now. It's going to go south of there, and then God knows where. The computers don't know. Some scenarios take it right over Florida. Some take it up to Texas. So we all have to be ready and be prepared, especially the people in West Central Florida. They're saying it could hit Tampa.
Well, we can always rely upon Florida to give us something to be prepared for. Okay, are there any other comments? And double check in the chat. Not here. Oops.
We're good. We're good.
Wait a minute. Diana's got her hand up. Diana, go for it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I just a message. Tom, I put something in the chat for you. An answer to your question about how to get the average citizen involved. So I guess I'll just say it here. In Nevada, we have CERT type of training that's now part of the school systems, and the homework with the kids goes home. So not only do the parents get involved, but also then it's not only related to their household, but how their household and their community relate together. So that's been a big help. It's a start.
Yes. Okay.
Oops. I want to say one more thing. There's funding for that, guys. Some good grants.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Diana. Thank you very much. Well, it has been an excellent presentation. Oscar, I appreciate, I know you got up early to start this, and you've done a great job, as always. We can always count on you. And appreciate, and you are still in the middle of this. We hope it doesn't get any worse.
I got a good Elmer and a helper as well. His name is Dan. Thank you.
Well,
Oscar, thank you for taking the
all.
time to prepare in you know, under the circumstances. Even if you weren't under those circumstances, it would have been a great presentation, but this is really impressive. Thank you so much.
yes.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for your confidence and your words. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Oscar. Thank you all for coming.
Bye.
Stay safe, Oscar. We're praying for you. Take care of yourself.
Take care. 73, everyone.
Take care, Dan. Talk to you later.